Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist and professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. Millions have been inspired by his unique outlook on life. His most recent book, 12 Rules for Life, quickly became the #1 best-selling book on Amazon. In this video, I'm going to give you stories both from my life and Peterson's to illustrate what the 12 rules are. Rule 1. Stand straight with your shoulders back. It will change how yourself and other people perceive you on a neural level. You'll be more attractive to females, find it easier to pay attention to subtle social cues, and be treated differently by people. It's well known as a power position in body language. Even if holding these positions might feel awkward at first, it will give you more confidence and fill your brain with healthy levels of serotonin. Science has shown that posture can really affect the brain and mood. Rule 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Have you ever heard the saying, if you treated your friends like you treat yourself, would you have any? See, whenever we are asked to help a friend or family in need, it's like we're willing to drop anything and everything for them. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't help our family and friends. I'm just saying you should hold yourself to a standard in the way you treat yourself. For some reason, at least in my case and some of my friends, they always think their needs aren't as important as everyone else's. If you are a good friend, you always want what's best for your family and friends. You just have to start doing the same for yourself. Be that friend to yourself to keep your diet on track, to push yourself to go to the gym, and reason with yourself to make the right decisions, the ones that will benefit you in the future. To establish your values so that you can better help yourself, to see what type of standards you want your life to be. I heard this quote from Harvey Specter from Suits that I think sits really well with this. Ever love someone so much, you would do anything for them? Yeah? Well, make that someone yourself and do whatever the hell you want. Rule 3. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Most people have loser friends. Let's be real. And if we are the average of the 5 people we know, what does that make us? Not to be insulting, of course. I suffer from so much resistance on this too. But I think a good step here is to establish what type of friendships you have and who to have in your inner circle for the long run. Remember, not everyone can continue on this journey with you. I have friends I just hang out with because I've known them my whole life. It doesn't really mean we're a good fit to help each other in life. I think it's just the comfort of knowing someone for so long. Same area, upbringing, some were roommates, some just because we went to school together, and some were my go-to team in high school whenever we would party and go out drinking. Does this sound like you? If so, it's time to be an adult. Who in your friendship circle is actually pushing you to be a better person? Who makes you smile when you are around them? If none of your friends fit this criteria, you should seriously reconsider who you're hanging around. Now, I would take this even a step further and cut off all the ones you know waste your time and make the version of you worse. I like this quote. When you walk with someone, something unspoken happens. Either you match their pace or they match yours. Sidney Poitier. So not only do we want to find the people who make us better, we also don't want to be tied down just because we find some comfort there. Rule 4. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. It goes without saying, we shouldn't compare with people either way. We all have different circumstances and experiences that make us who we are. We all have different journeys that we must go through. There's just no way to come out even either. As well as, in my experience, I have never felt good after comparing. So stay in your own lane. If you see somebody who has what you want, don't be jealous. Be inspired and motivated. That means somebody out there has accomplished what you want, so that means it's possible. Just keep working on improving yourself every day, making sure you beat who you were yesterday. And that will ensure you are the absolute best you can be at this current point in your life. There's always going to be someone who's better. In that same logic, there's always someone who's going to be worse. So why on earth would you want to waste your time comparing yourself? Just understand that everyone was once a beginner and stay patient with the process. I heard this quote, I don't know who wrote it, but it applies in the modern days we're living in, especially with social media. Getting your first degree after 21 is still an achievement. Being married after 30 is still beautiful. Starting a family after 35 is still possible. Buying a house after 40 is still a boss move. Don't let people rush you with their timeline. Leave me a comment what your thought is on that quote. Rule 5. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Peterson outlines parenting rules in this chapter, Me, myself, am not a parent, so I will provide Jordan Peterson's. The first part of it, which is harsh to think that children can do things that make them dislikable. But that's something everyone knows, but no one really wants to say. The second part is that you as a parent, despite loving your children, might also not like them. So we'll be frank about the situation. So how do we deal with that? If there's behaviors your children do that would make you dislike them, the probability of others disliking them for that behavior is very high. And you might say, well, so what? It's not your job to produce a child that everyone likes. But Jordan says, that's absolutely wrong. This is exactly your job. What you want to do is, by the time your child is 4, you want him or her to be set up to socialize well enough so that they're good at playing with other kids. Because kids socialize with each other, age 4 and onwards. So if your child has learned how to play, learned how to share, learned how to act in a civilized manner, engage in reciprocal interactions, tolerate a bit of failure as they wait their turn, enthusiastic and spontaneous, then other children will line up to play with him or her. If your child isn't likable by other children, you doomed your child of a life of isolation. You want them to react to adults properly, because they are going to spend a big portion of their lives being adults. So if you don't teach your children that adults are to be respected, you are devaluing their entire future and not giving them any reason to grow up. Usually adults have a soft spot for kids. You know, kids are cute, so you give kids the benefit of the doubt. If your kid is cute, playful, and respectful, and they see the best sides of all the adults, then the whole world opens up to them. If they are whiny, miserable, ungrateful, spoiled, selfish, and deceitful, well, adults will smile at them falsely and shut them off. And everywhere they go, they'll be facing that. So watch your children carefully. What you can do is when they do things right, little tasks like helping clean up, then reward them and explain why that was good. This was a good job because that was very helpful. Rule 6. Set your house in perfect order. Before you criticize the world, Peterson suggests you start to stop doing what you know to be wrong. In other words, stop doing the things you know are bad for you. Stop complaining and blaming life when you're doing nothing to fix your problems. If you are a smoker, overweight, addicted, or in toxic relationships, man the fuck up and accept your reality can be changed. And I used to be pretty angry with the world. When my girlfriend cheated on me, it led me to a bad diet, doing drugs. I hated the way the world worked. I hated how I felt like I worked so hard at work and never got promoted. I used to complain, and I'm sure you guessed it, it never got me anywhere. As soon as I made that shift that I'm responsible for my life and only worrying about what I can control and put focus into that, it was one of the best mindset shifts that could ever happen to me. So before we criticize the world, make sure you've been doing your best to make sure you are bringing the potential and value you have inside of you. Rule 7. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Ever heard the saying, nothing worth having comes easy? Don't do what is easy in the moment. There's no shortcuts to life. That's what it means to be expedient. And to this, Peterson is opposed. Life is not supposed to be fair or fun. It's supposed to be meaningful. So you will suffer, but just make sure you are living a life that is worth suffering for and leaving behind. Rule 8. Tell the truth, or at least, don't lie. Social trust is a difficult thing to obtain and easy to lose. I'm sure you've been in a relationship where lies have been told and trust has been broken. How did those end up? For me, once trust is broken, it's usually broken forever. Lies make you weak and you can feel it. But the point is, dishonesty will always come back to bite you. So tell the truth, or at least, don't lie. Rule 9. Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. You'd be surprised what you can learn by shutting up and truly listening. Listen more than you talk. Nobody learned anything by hearing themselves speak. Richard Branson. So be humble, be quiet, and maybe you'll learn something. Moving on. Rule 10. Be precise in your speech. Language takes the chaos and makes it into things. Specifically turns chaos into a thing that you can deal with. Don't just leave a problem as a vague issue. That will keep you irritated and anxious. Imagine, you and your girlfriend are in a rough patch. She tells you something's wrong in how she feels for you, but you can't put her finger on it. Now you might go crazy trying to solve this. You might buy her more things, take her on more dates, spend more time with her, maybe suspect she's cheating, and she'll still feel the way she feels. Why? Because there's nothing specific you can fix. I get it though. It's more pleasant not to think too hard about it and try to get through another day. Some people would rather be lost than have a course of action to follow. Once you precisely identify the issue, let's say, she can't stand how much time you spend on work, or hates that you chew so loud. You will likely realize that you are far more afraid than you should have been, and you now have a specific target to confront. It still might not be easy, but at least once you name it, it will be possible to take on. So be precise in your speech. Rule 11. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. When children are taking risks, such as skateboarding, should you stop them? The intuitive answer is to protect your child from any activity that is considered dangerous, including skateboarding. But denying your children from taking risks is more dangerous. Children will learn when to push forward, how to battle fear, how to fail and keep going, and be able to explore their abilities and limitations. My nephew, for example, normal kid, loves to be outdoors and bike. But whenever his mom is around, he immediately gets anxious when doing those activities. His mom always screams for him to be careful or watch out for the cars, even when one of our family members are right beside him watching. The car could be 20 feet away, but now he feels more anxious and scared, even in safe environments. You can tell it rattles him. But whenever he comes biking with me, he feels free and safe. And yes, he has fallen off the bike a couple of times, but you know what? He survived. I get that my sister is just trying to protect him, and she does get furious when he comes home with a couple bumps and bruises, but I know it's preparing him for the real world, where he is at some point going to have to handle himself in social situations and take calculated risks. And the final rule, pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Now Jordan doesn't literally mean pet a cat every time you see one. As for me, I'm allergic, so I don't think that would help anyways. But what he's trying to say is, people need to stop what they're doing and be present in the moment. Take some time to appreciate the little things. Small opportunities like this may confront you from time to time, but only if you pay careful attention. So put the phone down, be present, and enjoy what life has to offer. If you got value from this video, give it a like. If you have any interesting comments, comment down below. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you did feel like supporting this channel in a huge way, there is a link down below to buy me a coffee, which I would love because that's the fuel that I use for these late nights till 4 a.m. working on content for you. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue to move in silence.